Yo, what is good, guys? Ryan Hodge with FantasyLabs.com here, and we made some sick adjustments to our model and added some new features for you guys. The first feature is officially live, and we have added air yards as sortable data into our into our model. And we've also added it into our model sliders as well. So you can create a custom model that takes air yards into account and applies a weight to your model. So for those of you who don't know what air yards are, and the total air yards here, this is a average total air yards on receptions per game for a receiver over the past year. And air yards are the distance to the receiver from the line of scrimmage. So we have total air yards and we have a percentage of that receiver's total air yards relative to the rest of his team. And this is for the total year. And then we also have on a weekly rolling 4-month basis here. So the receiving month. I like to look at both. I like to identify maybe a trend that's changing up or down. Also just looking at larger sample sizes, which is really nice. So we can filter by a player's percentage of air yards. We can filter by their total air yards. Sometimes these will go hand in hand, but just because a guy has a ton of air yards doesn't mean he has a large market share, right? And so we can identify value there by taking a look at Tyler Lockett or Jamar Chase for his total percentage. And we can also come over here and use the receiving month and take a look at maybe a trend like A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, comparing that with their total air yards like a Devonta Smith here. Like that's interesting. Total air yards is pretty high, and his total team market share of air yards is pretty high. So just a great way to identify players who, one, I think the coaches want to get their ball the ball to, and also I think, just the insight of a quarterback and just kind of how the game plan might be shaping out. So I think there's definitely some value there. Don't read into it too much, but there's just a lot of value in air yards for receivers as a predictive metric going forward, especially if they had a lot of air yards, but maybe not a lot of fantasy points. Sometimes they just might be getting a little bit unlucky, and that can lead to kind of an explosion spot. So I also just want to quickly adjust on the custom models right here that you'll now notice under wide receiver, we have receiving air yard percentage over the last month, team share of air yard percentage, and team share of air yards month. So I think this is super rad. I'll just, for example's sake, maybe crank down a lot of these. Oops, here, let's just update this. And you can build an entire model based off of your air yards. So you can put really, really heavy weights into all of these air yard metrics here, and then it would adjust your player rating really based off of air yards. And so you could just call this like an air yards model, and you could filter back and forth between the models up here. Like my models, your pro models, you could have one called air yard models. Like I have one called high variance. There's a cash model. I kind of go back and forth. So really great stuff here. And this is just the start. So I'm going to tease some other metrics and data points that we're going to get in here as well that are a little bit more advanced data points for everyone to be able to browse, apply to their models, and just have at their fingertips as you use our lineup builder here to start taking a look at, like if you just want to kind of look at lineups based off some of the models, like, well, let's do it, right? Building lineups based off just of the air yards. Like let's filter by team percentage air yards over the last year here. And Christian Kirk, Elijah Moore, Brandon Gallup, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase. Like, all right, let's just build based off of air yards. Here's a cheap guy. Here's a cheap guy. And you can start to just use our lineup builder here to only build with air yards and then the other advanced metrics that we will get right here. It's a great place to have all of your data right at your fingertips and also use the lineup builder and really start to build out lineups You could then even kind of fill it out and optimize as you continue to build out here. Maybe you just lock in a couple different receivers, grab a quarterback, maybe a Cam Newton to go with DJ Moore, grab a running back that you really like, such as a Christian McCaffrey or an AJ Dillon, I think is in a really good spot. And you can clearly just hit optimize here, and you could start getting a little bit of an optimal lineup as you're playing in smaller field stuff or in cash games. So I'm glad that we've got air yards in there. I'm excited that we're getting other advanced metric points, other advanced data points and metrics for us to use. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because we all know how much that helps the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.